meeting of February 18, 2025 of the Township Council of the Township of Washington. Adequate notice of the meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers in December, and this meeting has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board, electronic message board, WCTV, and on the Township website. Please notify the municipal clerk for any disability requirements necessary for attendance at Township Council meetings. The fire exits are located through the double doors to your right and through the door on your left. Please silence all cell phones. If you are unable to attend the council meeting in person and would like a topic to be addressed at a council meeting, please send an email to the Township of Washington contact all council members at once.
Recording in progress.
twp@washington.us. Could everyone please stand for a salute to the flag? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilman Casio.
Here.
Councilman Sears.
Here.
Councilman Ullman.
Here.
Councilwoman Velez. Council President DeSena.
Here. Let the record reflect also in attendance, Mayor Peter Calamari, Township Administrator Mark DiCarlo, Township Attorney Susan Siobhan Bailey, and Township Clerk Susan Wachowski. Payment of bills, Resolution number 25-166. Authorized payment of bills January 30th, 2025 to February 12th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
I just had one that I had emailed to Mr. DiCarlo this morning about the salt expense. And I'm assuming that the charge that was in the list of bills was for our local salt that we maintain?
Yes, so I did receive the question from Mr. Ullman this morning. The question is, I understand we maintain a salt supply locally. In addition to the salt obtained via the county, can we purchase salt from the county supplier for local storage at the county rate under our shared service agreement? I don't know our price nor the county's price, but assume they receive a volume discount. So a company named Atlantic Salt won the contract from October 1, 24 through September 30th, 2025 through the County of Bergen Administration and Finance Division of Purchasing. It's a co-op, and both the township and the county purchase the salt from this supplier. So we buy it at $75 a ton, so that the county gets it at the same price as we do.
Okay.
But we have it delivered here.
Thank you.
And that was the only question.
Roll call.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez. Council President DeSena.
Yes. PSA for February 18, 2025. The Township of Washington has added the Recycling Coach app to our website on the Department of Public Works page. Please visit the page to get more information. Property reassessment inspections have begun on January 29th. Please visit our website for further information. Primary election date change. Please note the primary election will now be held Tuesday, June 10th. All voting takes place at Town Hall. Hours are 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. 2025 animal license renewals are now due. There is a late fee, is currently $5. After March 1st, the late fee will be $25. Printed calendars are now available at Town Hall for anyone who wants a printed copy. As a reminder, an online calendar is available on our website as well as a printable PDF version. Township of Washington will be hosting its 3rd annual family-friendly Spring into Wellness 5K Run Walk and Health Fair on Saturday, May 3rd. Registration is now open. Please visit the Township website for more details. VFW Post 6192 of District 2 will be holding a Day to Honor commemoration ceremony on National Vietnam War Veterans Day, Saturday, March 29, 2025, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Bethany Community Center, 605 Pascack Road. Please join us in honoring Bergen County Vietnam veterans and their families at this special ceremony. The Kiwanis Club of the Pascack Valley meets on the 2nd Wednesday of each month at 6:30 p.m. at the Westwood Community Center. If anyone would like more information, please contact Ralph Cardulli at 516-581-8319 or pascackvalleykiwanis@gmail.com. Our next council meeting will be held on Monday, March 3rd, 2025. Our next part of the meeting, we have appointments to the fire department. We have a membership application from John R. Lenari for the Township of Washington Fire Department. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, are you going to administer the oath?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you bring your own Bible or you want to use it? Okay. Anyone want to hold it for him? Okay, so left hand on the Bible, right hand in the air. Is that it, sir?
Yep.
Yep. So just getting us a microphone. Come a little closer. Yeah.
I, John Lenary,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United
the
States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I do solemnly swear
and that I do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties
all the duties
as a volunteer member of
as a volunteer member of the Township of Washington Fire Department
in the Township of Washington,
in the Township of
in
Washington,
the County of Bergen,
in the County of Bergen,
in the State of New
in
Jersey,
the State of New Jersey,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Nothing happens without signatures, so.
Thank you.
See you then. Oh, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
That's why I have a deal.
Next on our agenda is a presentation from the Township of Washington Volunteer Ambulance Corps from President Eugene Greco and Treasurer Richard Myers.
Rich didn't make it.
Okay,
Another file there, the season lieutenant.
how are you tonight, Jim?
All right, how are you?
So you want to come up with you, or are you going to do the
Oh,
presentation?
yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening. How's everybody doing? We're here with the intention of talking about the Bergen County contract that we've established and you guys helped get. We believe that this is going to be a big plus for us because it's good to, they'll be able to fill in where we can't fill in. And we'll cover them. They're going to be using the building. So, you know, we could share that stuff. And at this point with this, it makes it better for us in the sense that we are not ready to close and go to a paid service. We're not, you know, there's no need. We have 9, right now we have 9 students, 2 that are in the EMT school. And we're pretty much covering, we had a lot of extra duty calls because of the snow and the cold and stuff like that. They got covered. So this, I just foresee it as a plus, and everybody on the Corps believes that it's going to be a plus for us. So.
And we want to provide service for the town without any vacancies, so we don't have to go to other,
And the insurance.
and insurance.
Tell them about, The,
Oh, yeah.
the Bergen County,
Yeah, the Bergen County is not going to put any stress on the townspeople because they're not going to be charging extra. They will accept whatever insurance covers for the service. Like if we had a hospital ambulance, they would charge extra for that call. So this way, they're not burdened with extra costs. It's all going to be taken by the insurance companies of whatever they're using. So it's a win-win for everybody.
for everybody.
So they going into is the Bergen County ambulance going to park inside the bay?
Yeah,
Back
if it's
the
really
back bay,
bad.
if it's bad?
Yeah, they're going to be able to park inside. We have plenty of room. They're going to have their own equipment and everything else, but they can use our facilities. We're going to be priority for all calls, any emergency calls. We're going to be called first. And then if there's no other ambulance available, then they can fill in the space. So it's really going to be a great win-win for everybody.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I agree.
Can you explain the coverage model? Because, and is this contract signed?
Not yet.
Not yet. So this is a proposal.
It's on your consent agenda tonight to be signed.
We're working out the details.
Yeah, sign it.
So we don't have the details yet.
No, they're in the contract. We have the contract. It just has to get signed.
They've already been there helping out, so
Yeah, they've
it's in the works.
They've been stationed between the fire department parking lot and our parking lot.
So
So,
when is Washington Township on duty and the primary?
okay. Let's go this way. The county is going to be basically the morning, which has historically been a major issue with people volunteering, and even more so now, I mean, than it has been in the past with everybody working having a two salary home. We cover most of the nights.
So is that starting at like 6 PM?
Yes, 7.
7 o'clock. It's
7.
7 to 7 and 7 to 7.
And we have a understanding with Westwood that we alternate weekends because when we're on, there's nobody else in the valley on. And then when they're on, nobody else in the valley.
So we have a
So
pretty good mutual
we
aid
have
system.
mutual aid is pretty good. Yes.
So
So the county would be here from 7 AM to 7 PM, and then Washington Township Volunteer Ambulance Corps would go on at
And we
7.
cover during the day on Wednesdays and Fridays.
But,
If
most of the day.
somebody's there.
yeah, right.
Pretty much all day.
and you cover all evenings? All weekends?
No, we alternate with
Westwood?
West.
Yeah, right.
And what metrics have we put in place to ensure that this is functioning? Because I guess we got to this point, if I understand our closed sessions, because there were issues with coverage, there were issues with answering calls, there were issues where the Washington Township Ambulance Corps wasn't able to provide the coverage that, I guess, as part of your mutual aid agreement, you were supposed to. So we engaged the county and the hospitals for these types to supplement these coverages. I mean, I'm personally of the opinion that we should go fully towards a county solution. I don't know what the rest of the council will say, but what are we putting in place? One, to ensure that we are meeting our obligations under the contract, and two, you mentioned 9 students that are coming in.
They're members.
They're members.
They
So
right, yep.
They're right.
how, what's your capacity, or what's your, I'm sorry, the term is escaping me. Are you at full complement at this point?
No.
So, and what's being done to engage the public to bring people in?
Trying to recruit, doing the recruiting, and that's
That's always a tough one.
the sign that the bulletin board, whatever, from the police department stationed in front of our building, and it's, requesting people and EMTs needed.
And has the change in the LoSAP that we did, was it earlier this year or the end of last year? Has that had a positive impact? Has he
Yes.
seen any impact?
Yeah, people are, they have to ride more, and they are. We have more coverage than we did prior to that.
They understand that they have to put in time, writing, meetings and things like that.
The various subjects, because like Bob said, the meetings, being on the schedule, training, that's, and we're getting, that it has accomplished that.
So we keep their skills up 100% for everybody, so.
And Mr. Mayor, this is your, would this be your recommendation, this sort of split model?
I think based on my conversations with the ambulance corps members, that we should see it through this year at least, to see how this option with the county goes and with our own volunteers, and reevaluate it at the end of this year to see if we want to, if it's working or if we need to adjust something
Try it out for
for
you.
next year.
And do we have any metrics in place to monitor the success that we're achieving?
I've asked the police, because the calls come in through the dispatch desk, to now monitor on each call who will be the responding agency.
Can we get that reporting monthly?
I would say let's let it build up for a month or two, so maybe the end of March, start it there.
Okay.
We also keep track of the calls that we go on, but according to the state. And, so we have to fill out trip sheets and all that kind of stuff. So more than once, we've been asked, if, what our totals were for the year, how many we've, what our weekends are like, and so on, so.
And the mutual aid is involved with that also.
Yes, so it's there, it can be accessed whenever you need.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that. When this first came up, I had requested some information and was told that it wasn't available, so it's good to know that it is.
Yeah,
And so we can, certainly monitor it going forward.
okay.
Question, the other model with the hospital service, what don't you like about that?
They charge their patients.
Yeah, on the calls, they charged them straight out. And then on top of that too, it was, they were gonna charge us,
Yeah.
meaning the town.
And it's a longer response. We provide a quick response. The county being right there on premises, they can provide a quick response also.
My understanding was that the county would be on the premises with one of the models that we talked about, if I'm not mistaken.
But they could be somewhere else.
Yeah, they could be.
Yes, but they'll base themselves at our
And
building.
But is that still true? Like even though they're in our volunteer ambulance corps building, they could be on a call in Montvale or somewhere else if they're called if nothing's going on.
Right, well,
and
we
they
have
need a
mutual aid
response.
with other towns.
That's what I'm saying, but they could be, so it's not
Yeah, I
like,
mean,
they're not just staying in Washington Township.
No,
No,
but then
Just
they'll
wanna make that clear.
return to our.
They're gonna return to our
Yeah.
EMS, emergency services building, but they're not.
Just like if we were out on a call, same thing.
between us and them, the county, somebody will be there. And then if not, then it goes to the police to dispatch
The next,
the next one, MyCom or, the next ambulance that's around.
And we have the system that they have for all the towns. They can tell who's on a call, where they're going and everything else, so they know who to call first for a quick response.
I guess my other, when we discussed this up here, the other understanding was even though it's a paid service and we would pay a fee to them, that they would try and collect from the insured, okay, the patient. And then if there was no payment or there was no insurance, there would be no debt collected. So is that your understanding or is that my misinterpretation or?
That
That was
was-
our understanding, that you would only collect what the insurance.
Insurance paid. Okay, so there really would be no cost to the claimant or
Right,
the
just like
or the
that.
injured party.
We don't
Exactly.
charge, so they-
So I just want to get that, because I think the public might have a misconception that, oh, we want to go with X because it's not going to cost, it may cost us something when in essence it would not. So I want to make sure, we're
I
talking.
mean, it could potentially cost them their co-pay based on their policy,
Yeah.
whatever
Yes,
that
yeah,
is.
of course, or every policy is
Right.
different, correct, so,
Yeah.
but, I just wanted
I
to,
don't know if you guys are aware that I have medical background a little bit. I'm a registered pharmacist.
Mhm.
And whatever we bill and if we bill and they were in network.
Right.
They take whatever the network
correct,
pays. And then if not,
Right.
they cannot rebill you the balance.
that's correct, no balance billing.
Yeah, that's what they
No
said.
balance billing, yes, sure. Okay, that was my understanding, so I just want to make sure that I didn't get it wrong.
No.
Personally, before I look at this, I'd like to see the contract myself and see what it looks like.
It was in the packet.
Was it in the packet?
Yeah.
Tom, I should
It-
open
it's
your,
very
I should
short.
I should open your mail.
It's a 1.5 page. It's a memo of understanding.
Oh, is that?
Yeah. it's
Yeah.
all-
The member of understanding is the whole contract?
It's a contract.
Okay. I'm gonna
We
open your
kept
mail
it
next
very
time.
simple.
Okay,
Keep it simple.
anyway, thank you.
Any other questions from the days?
I just breezed through it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Approval of minutes, public meeting, February 5th, 2024, conference meeting, February 5th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Omen,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Approval of minutes, public meeting, February 20th, 2024, conference meeting, February 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Omen,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Public meeting, March 4th, 2024, conference meeting, March 4th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Omen,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Recuse. This time, the report of the administrator, Mr. DeCarlo.
Good evening, Council President. Hello, everyone. There was no formal follow-up regarding any council or resident questions. However, I did have a few updates for everyone. As you know, Appraisal Systems has begun its township inspections for our 2025 reassessment. If you go to our website or the ASI's homepage, they have information on the inspectors, pictures of the inspectors, and anticipated date of some locations for inspections. As far as the fourth round affordable housing, the Department of Community Affairs, Division of Local Planning Services has placed deadlines on municipalities to cooperate with. There was a due date of February 15th for the reporting of detailed accounting of such fees that were collected and expended over the previous year regarding affordable housing. We had met that deadline. Happy to say that was completed by our municipal housing liaison. And then, Mayor, if you wouldn't mind passing this down, I just got to find myself. I was able to obtain a written update on the swim club progress for the testing and the remedialization research that's currently going on there. It'd be easier if I update by reading this. This was authored by Mr. Rossi from Boswell Engineering. Dear Mr. DeCarlo, pursuant to today's conversation regarding the estimated time frame for the remediation of the above referenced site, once the polychlorinated biphenyl PCB delineation is complete, we can begin preparing the project's plans and specifications. Since PCBs are regulated under the Toxic Substances Control Act, we must also prepare and submit a self-implementation plan to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency for review and approval. It has been our experience that this has been a lengthy process, and we have had to address several rounds of comments before receiving the EPA's final approval. Please note that we cannot finalize the draft plans and specifications until we have incorporated all EPA comments. Based upon the aforementioned, we estimate that the on-site remediation will likely not begin until 2026. A copy of this letter has also been placed in each of the council members' budget binders under the tab miscellaneous. Because of that reason, the mayor and I did not ask for any funding in 2025 towards the remedial action of the swim club, because that is not expected to be known until 2026 or later, based on my phone conversation with Mr. Rossi. And that concludes my update.
Thank you, Mr. DeCarlo. General public comment, limit to 5 minutes. Motion to open the public comment period.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Would anybody like to come up and address the council at this time?
Mr. Mayor, President, council members, my name is Brian Galise. I'm Teamsters Local 125. I represent the good guys of this DPW.
Good evening.
Good evening. I also represent 32 other DPWs in northern New Jersey, including your neighbors in Hillsdale, Westwood, Emerson. They all have buildings to keep and maintain their equipment. Some are nicer than others, but they all have buildings. For 4 long years, this DPW has worked out of a tent, and I strongly urge this governing body to pass a resolution and give these guys a home. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come up and address the council at this time? Good evening.
Mayor, Council, Administrator. I want to thank you for this opportunity. I'm going on my 28th
Speak up,
year.
please.
I'm going on my 28th year working for the road department, and I really like to see a new building. Like Brian said, we're working out of a tent. If we got to do plow blades and everything, all that, we're working out in the cold, changing them, Got to take a little break because it's so cold to go in, warm up a little bit, then come back out and finish the job. We're doing in the snow some nights. We're changing plow blades. I think it's time for a new building, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come up and address the council at this time? Seeing no one, motion to close the public comment period.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ordinances, adoption, second reading.
Council President, can I ask we postpone this until Councilwoman Velez?
We want to suspend the meeting until,
Let's suspend the order of
The order of
meeting
business.
Order of
till-
business.
Till the end of the
Till we have Councilwoman Velez.
I'll second that. So we'll move this to before we go into conference.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Roll call.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Introduction, first reading, ordinance number 2506, an ordinance amending chapter 212 of the ordinances of the Township of Washington entitled Fees. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 2506 at first reading by title.
So move.
Second.
Discussion?
What's driving this, or what's the ask? Because I tried to,
It's to update the fees for the summer rec program.
But didn't we put a max on this last year, Mr. Mayor, so we've exceeded the max already from last year?
Well,
Because we,
this year's program will exceed the current max that's in the ordinance, yes.
and why are I don't understand the reason for the 10% refund when it was always $25 for a refund fee. So now we're going to do 10% of
the base amount.
what is causing that?
In my meeting with the summer rec director coordinator, he brought to my attention that in quite a few cases, he has people registering their children in the beginning, and then they find something before the start of the program. And right now, they're taking up spots where we have people waitlisted. And so he believes that we should institute a fee to discourage that if you're in, you're in, like you don't take it and then get to back out a week before the program starts without paying some type of.
But we always had the $25.
No, we haven't. Remember, we pulled that out a while ago. So
Oh, we
right
did
now-
pull it out.
Yeah, so right now there is no.
Well, why can't
fee.
we go back to the $25 fee? I think 10% is a little harsh on,
It's, it was just something that was thrown out, but if council wants to change it, as long as we put something in, just so people can't abuse.
I would
that
be,
part of-
I would be, because it's 600, it's almost $600. So we're asking for a $600, a $60 refund fee versus a $25 refund fee in the past.
Well, the in-town rate is $525, so it would be.
Yeah, but by the time, but by the time you add all your stuff up, it's going to be way
Well, it
over.
would only be on the base program amount, which is the $525.
So on all the excursions, we just give them a full refund back with no,
No, the excursions, they don't, wait, I have to take back what I was about to say.
yeah, because we register, you got to register for all the excursions. So,
Excursions would have been full refund. It was just the base amount.
so why don't we have a refund for everything?
Mhm.
And then this way, rather than 10%, because it's.
Again, up to council's discretion, they just wanted me to convey the idea that there should be some type of fee.
Yeah, because I know when I
so people don't
registered, it was like
abuse it.
800 and something dollars with all the excursions and everything.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I imagine if you go on all the excursions, it's
Yeah,
not
no,
that high.
it's still a good price, but it's, what say you, gentlemen? $25 fee or 10%?
Well, so point two is refunds. A full refund will be issued if requested in writing within 14 days, which is what they're trying to drive, correct? They don't want to hold.
Yeah, the 14 days was in case someone really registered by mistake or something, they registered for the wrong program.
So that's from day one, you're saying?
It's from the date that the people registered.
Oh, okay.
So,
So I mean, so somebody could register 2 weeks before.
well, usually it's been full long before, 2 weeks before. Because again, even at the 600 maximum, we waitlisted, I think, about 30 people last year who did, and that's what's driving.
And how many
this.
refunds did we give out? 10, I thought, so.
Yeah, it could be in that range. Sorry, I don't have that number handy.
I mean, if people, I guess the question is, or do we feel that people are abusing the process, or
It's there.
are there truly,
It's 10 people out of 600.
They're using it as an insurance policy to say, hey, I'm going to use it as a placeholder for my kid, but if something better comes along, I'm not going to get hit with any penalty. I can pull them out literally the day before the program starts without a penalty. And meanwhile, we've had people waitlisted who really wanted to use the program but couldn't because of this situation.
I think if we're trying to discourage that behavior, then we
Leave the 10%.
should make it more penal. I don't know, 10% or instead of 25, it's 50. But, if the behavior is that, they're using it as insurance and at the last minute canceling and screwing other people over, then we want to try to avoid that behavior. So I would say, if not 10%, make it something they'll think about. Whether it's 50 or the 10%. But I think 25, that's cheap insurance.
Yeah, I think the 10%, if you remember, we had a lot of township residents that were here saying they were blocked out of it. And then we decided
No,
to have,
we had township only registrations
yeah, and then we decided township only.
at the beginning
At
for what,
the
2 weeks,
beginning.
Mr. Mayor, you did, right? We did 2 weeks?
I think we decided on 10 days, not a full
10 days.
Well, it's 2
Yeah.
full weeks, yeah.
Yeah, pretty close.
And I think the 10% is more than fair.
All right, well, everybody okay with the 10% then?
And that was the only change?
And the rate.
And the rates, they
Yeah.
increased the rates again.
Understood.
How much were the rates increased across the board? They're all different, or?
Well, these are the new maximums, right, Siobhan? These are the maximum.
Sue had the old ordinance.
Yeah, the old
compared.
ordinance is in your packet.
Oh, okay, that's what
Yeah.
There's like 4 spots.
Yeah, out of town.
Went from-
In town for residents, then second applicant, and then out of town, first applicant, second applicant.
No,
All right, here it is, base program. The first participant in town residents is going from 500 to 5 1/4. Base program maximum for each additional participant for in-town residents, $490 to $510. Base program max for first participant for out-of-town residents from $600 to $630. And base program max for each additional participant for out-of-town, $590 to $615.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's a
Sure.
that's
Those are the new maximums.
but that's,
But the budget I gave you, that will be the real number, the 525 will be the base.
Yeah, but you gave yourself the ability to go to 550, so we don't
No.
reduce. Yeah, it's right here, the maximum for is,
500, 525.
Yeah,
no, 525, okay.
yeah.
There's 50s and 10s all over this thing.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's fine, but if we're going to be in this situation next year again,
Mhm.
rather than having to change the ordinance, should we make it higher or?
That's up to your fellow council members. I mean, we don't mind coming every year.
Yeah, but we're doing it always at the last minute. Like if we don't pass this tonight, you can't open registration. So it is a problem every year. We do this every year, like for the last forever.
Yeah.
I say we pass it as is now and maybe look at it again in the fall to up them for the spring.
Okay.
Is that okay with everyone?
That sounds good.
So we're not doing it,
Yeah.
the meeting before, so we can
Okay.
open it.
It's hard to narrow down the cost so early, like in the fall for the next summer, but yeah, we'll give it a shot and estimate it as best we can.
so I guess my only question is what's driving the increase at this point? Is it we're paying the rec directors and the people that work it more? We're offering more stuff on campus? I guess that's my question.
It's a few things. It's, just general costs going up for even the supplies. Bethany's costs going up for the program. Bethany's obviously one of our larger costs of the program, and they asked for an increase this year. That's the biggest one. I mean, the people, we did put in, everyone across the board for a salary increase of 2.5%. The transaction fees from Community Pass went up some. So again, just.
Yeah, everything has
those
gone up
costs in
this year.
general,
It's-
yeah.
Okay.
Roll call?
Adopting as is, correct?
As is, yeah.
Well, it's just first reading.
First reading, yeah.
Councilman Cassio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Omen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez. Council President DeSenza.
Yes. Resolution number 25-178, authorizing publication of ordinance number 2506 and schedule a public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Roll call?
Councilman Cassio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Omen.
yes.
Council President DeSenza.
Yes. Resolutions consent agenda. The following items have been determined to have the unanimous consent of council and will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any council member may have such item removed from the consent agenda. Does anyone, would anyone like any resolution removed at this time?
Yes, please.
What would you like removed, Mr. Holman?
169, 171, and 172.
Thank you. Resolution 25-168, authorize refund of overpayment of taxes, various blocks and lots in the total amount not to exceed $8,407. Resolution number 25-170, authorize refund of engineering escrow funds, block 4407, lot 50, in the amount of not to exceed $437.75. Resolution number 25-173, support publishing legal notices on official government websites. Resolution number 25-174, appointments to zoning board of adjustment alternate number 2, member term expires 12/31/2026. Resolution number 25-175, authorize memorandum of understanding with County of Bergen. Resolution number 25-176, municipal resolution, Township of Washington. Resolution number 25-177, authorize award of contract to Beckmeyer Engineering, PC NJDOT 2025 program, Coolidge Avenue design and construction phases not to exceed $46,500. Motion to approve consent agenda resolutions as is.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Cassio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Omen.
Yes.
Council President DeSanto.
Yes. Resolution number 25-169, authorize cancellation of any current tax liability and all future property tax bill due to U.S. Veterans Permanent Disability Block 4303, Lot 3, and authorize refund of overpayment of Q1 2025 property taxes to Loretta LLC in the amount of not to exceed $3,215. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it. Question?
Yeah, so first, I wanted to thank the gentleman. He's being granted a exemption due to his permanent disability, so to recognize that. I guess my question is, Loretta LLC, is that a holding company of the property, or is that the?
I'm sorry, I can't comment on that.
I think that's just
Resolution.
one of the ones that pay the taxes.
Yeah, if I had to guess, it's either a service that pays it, or maybe that's their mortgage company who's
Yeah,
paying the
something like
taxes
that,
on
yeah.
their behalf, and so it's gonna go back to their escrow account. But that's all me guess.
Okay, so I'll vote yes, but is it possible just to confirm that? Because I guess my question really is, if it's held in a trust or the property is held in an LLC, can the property gain or have an exemption? Is it to the person or the?
I would think not, I agree with you. That's why I'm assuming that all the paperwork was looked at, and this is
Yes,
a tax payment
I mean,
service.
sort of like the first one, the Core Logic,
Right,
168.
yes,
I'm
correct.
familiar with that. I've never seen this, so if
Right.
we could just quantify that or
Yeah. Will you take care of
Identify that?
Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Roll call?
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Omen.
yes.
Council President DeSanto.
Yes. Resolution number 25-171, award of municipal advisor and continuing disclosure services contract by Acacia Financial Group, Inc. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it. Comments?
Yes, I have a question. So do we know on section 2, fees and expenses, what are the anticipated expenses for this? There's bond financing, note financing, statement preps, consulting, ADFs.
Ms. Wachowski, I think they provided us with a cost estimate for each thing, didn't they?
Yeah, I believe it's in there. Is it not?
Maybe I missed it, sorry.
That's okay. The bond financing, there's a minimum fee of, it's going to pay the rate of $1 to $1,000 per value with a minimum fee of $1,500. It's on page 2. Note financing is in there.
Yeah, so
Statement preparation's in there.
I'm thinking we can't do bond refinance, or bond financing and note refinancing. We're doing one or the other, and they have different rates. And then there's a slew of other fees that, we'll potentially be on the hook for. So I'm just wondering, do we know what the max exposure is, or do we have any idea?
I believe it's in there as well, percentage of how much money we borrow. But we have not incurred any fees yet. All the information has been provided to them for them to provide us with a plan and an estimate for what the borrowing rate will be, as well as their fees.
Okay. And then I'm assuming that this is going to be for permanent financing, or is that correct or incorrect?
Well, they're going to provide us with the recommendation as far as whether it's a band or a bond. I would imagine, if I'm taking a guess, it's going to start with a band.
Okay. And do we anticipate securitizing any other expenses at this point in time, or is it just the 3 million?
Well, they were provided information with what our unfunded capital ordinances are, as well as the information on what our capital proposed projects are, but they understand they're not approved by council through the budget process. And they've also been informed of the 2.85 in potential borrowing that may or may not be approved this evening.
Okay, so this is not then just for, this is not in response to,
To an
This
actual
evening.
proposal, no.
This
This is, we did this last year too, except we did it for Acacia. I think we did it for Phoenix. We may have done for a third one, but this is the company the mayor and I are anticipating doing business with. They come highly recommended. We've had meetings with them, highly recommended by our bond counsel and through Lurch, Fincy, and Bliss. So they're all components of the borrowing process.
okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes,
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Resolution number 25-172, award of contract to administrative agent, Community Grants, Planning and Housing LLC. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions?
yes. Sorry. Well, it was a, so on Schedule A, so this organization manages our affordable housing, is that correct?
They're our master agent. So, in this equation here is the township, the master planner, and then CGP&H, which is our master agent. They help us facilitate the reports, the, putting together the information, the documentation, and helping us get through to the, down to the state.
So just on Schedule A, they're assuming no units are listed for sale. I guess at this point, we're not anticipating any activity on our affordable housing. No, I'm assuming we're going to have a lot of activity, but
But not that far.
not in terms of actual items or actual units being available.
Correct.
Okay. That was it.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Any word back from Ms. Velez? Is she available to jump on or not yet?
I have not seen her come on yet. Anything from you, Mr. DeCarlo? Anything?
She had mentioned to me the earliest would be 8 o'clock, because that's when she was contracted through at work to stay that long.
So let's move on, and then,
We'll come back
You'll
after,
come back.
we'll have to come back after
Have to come
close.
back.
Yeah, all right.
No.
well, not close, we got to still have
Yeah, we still got to do the
the
conference.
other conference and if you
You'll
can,
have to come back.
yeah.
All right. Motion to adjourn into conference agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next meeting of the Township Council will be on March 3rd, 2025, beginning at 7 PM. Sign up for Nixle, text 07676 to 888-777, key code TWP of Bergen. Conference agenda, administration, 2025 budget.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Happy to have the budget ready to present to the council this evening. Mike, with your permission, while Mark's doing that, can I read my budget statement that
Sure.
accompanies? Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and council members. I'm pleased to present the Township of Washington 2025 budget to the council for their review and approval. I want to commend Administrator DiCarlo for his diligent work in preparing the budget with me, as well as all the departments for keeping their requests well in line with expectations. The proposed municipal budget increase is a modest 1.5% over last year's budget, equating to an annual $85 increase on the average assessed property value, plus an additional $19 for the library. This was achieved while also reducing the amount of the surplus contribution by 8% to $1.65 million from $1.8 million. In addition, money is no longer coming in from the American Rescue Plan Fund or Municipal Relief Fund aid. Those two items account for a reduction of revenue this year of over $200,000. The increase is also very reasonable considering that the Consumer Price Index for 2024 was 2.9%. Four mandatory items account for more than the actual increase. They are BCUA sewer charges of $60,000, state pension obligations of $75,000, capital improvement fund of $71,000, and the state formula for contribution to the library of $64,000. This is in the budget if you don't want to be taking such quick notes.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Some of this year's capital projects include $887,000 for the 2025 local road program. I hope the council will fund it this year, unlike last year. We did not want to go back to the days before 2014 when the program had not been funded for years and our local roads suffered because of it. $100,000 for stationary automatic license plate readers at some of the key intersections in town. This investment is invaluable to law enforcement at all levels. They help solve crimes and close cases. Surrounding towns have had them in place for many years. $600,000 to replace two aging garbage trucks from 2006 and 2009. Their age and needed repair frequency are partially what delayed the 2024 leaf collection program. They are also used for the weekly garden debris and the bulk goods pickup programs. If we order them this year, due to supply chain issues, we will probably not take delivery of them until next year. $250,000 to replace a front loader, also dating back to 2007. $100,000 to replace a crew cab truck, including a new plow and salting unit, also from 2007. $180,000 for two fully outfitted police vehicles, $90,000 to replace a fire department vehicle, and $85,000 to replace fencing and backstops at Memorial, Sherry, and Clark Fields. The cost for these capital projects represent investments in our town and its future. Continued and ongoing investments ensure that our services and facilities meet and hopefully exceed the expectations of our residents as they continue to improve. It reflects the pride we all take in this unique, special, and increasingly desirable place to live and raise our families. During the budget process, the departments submit the amounts they need to fund their operations. They supply realistic amounts that are confirmed by both me and the administrator. Requesting further reductions implies they build extra money into their budgets, and I can assure the council that is simply not the case. I understand and respect the council's important oversight role in reviewing the budget. I was a council person too. And I can assure all council persons that the budget submitted is fully vetted and necessary for the departments to do their work and accomplish their objectives for the good of our residents and community. The council should certainly ask questions like I did during the process to fully understand the needs of the departments. At the end of the year, if the budget has unspent money, which is usually the case, we use that amount to replenish the surplus. That amount can then be used to offset future tax increases. It is no different than basic home budgeting in that regard. When you budget money for your household and are fortunate to have money left over, you know you accomplished what you set out to do, budgeted close to the actual cost, saved some money, and then use the excess for something in the future. It is not lost or double taxed as has been incorrectly referenced in the past. Please examine your tax bill when you receive it to see the different agencies your tax dollars support. The municipal portion of the total tax bill is quite reasonable given the level of services it provides. Administrator DiCarlo and I look forward to collaborating with the council to answer their questions and work toward budget approval. Thank you. That concludes my budget report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Council President, can I just take 30 seconds to
Sure.
orientate? Thanks. Council members, if you don't mind going to the capital budget tab. If you look at that Excel spreadsheet, this is a true and accurate depiction. There's no other projects that we're working on that we're waiting for any type of information.
So we're not going to get one at midnight, now we're going to have to cut the road program out.
Bar an emergency.
Okay.
Okay, so I did want to tell you
All
that.
right.
And there is a line to support the letter I wrote from Mr. Rossi that there's no funding is requested this year for the swim club hazardous material remediation. And then each department has its own tab with its supporting documentation behind it. The only other thing to mention is you have audit trails this year, which is new for grant, trust, and capital.
Thank you.
Last year, you were only given the balances of the account lines, but you have the whole year audit trail. And then the miscellaneous tab, if you go to that, it has the building department, well, it has the Boswell letter that I read. It also has the building department's annual report, so income versus expenses, and you also have the health department's income versus expenses report. And thank you, that's all I got for you.
Thank you. B, and under administration, December council meeting date.
Yes. Unfortunately, the dates we had to choose from were narrow for this year's hopeful party. And so the only date they could accommodate was December 1st, which happens to be a council meeting date. So I would just ask the council if they would entertain moving that date to another date for the anticipated holiday party.
Can we push it till later on to see if we need that meeting? Is it like, or make it, is this December 2nd?
I mean, I don't think there's a rush, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to let the council know, since I know now that
Okay.
that was the.
So
really the
December
only
1
date
is the-
that-
is the
yeah, it's
employee
only date they had
holiday.
available.
Okay. We'll have to check and see what other dates the other boards are meeting, right?
We do.
Oh, excuse me, Mr.
December 3rd is a planning board meeting. Zoning board only meets once on the 16th.
So we want to just move it to the 2nd?
If that's okay with it, but that's a Tuesday night. Is that going to be a conflict for Councilwoman Valesco? I don't know for how long her conflict is on Tuesdays. Maybe we should wait until next meeting just to double check.
All right, well, when she gets on, we'll move. I don't think it'll be a problem moving it.
Can I interrupt you? She's on her way, about 25 minutes out, but she's available to phone in.
Well, let's phone her in.
Yeah, let's phone her in.
Yeah, because,
Please.
all right, let's continue on. Parking and storage of boats and boats trailer follow-up. Any follow-up on that?
Yeah, I went around and there are more boats than the original 30 I had listed. So again, just looking at the size of these vehicles, you know, I think the planning board, they discussed a berm of, I believe, Tom, 6 foot high vegetation. Okay, and a lot of these vehicles, especially some of the larger boats and some of the
6 foot ain't
RVs,
gonna cover it.
6 foot will not cover it. And again, a lot of these boats are basically right on people's property lines. There is really no way you can put the vegetation there to hide those vehicles. So I think we really have to decide what we're going to do. And then we talked about grandfathering people that already have them. So that's the only follow-up I really have. Again, I went around again, and you know, when you really start looking like a peeping Tom in people's backyards and side yards, you notice a lot of stuff that you normally don't see when driving by, and there's a lot more than we anticipate. So
Okay.
just wanted to bring that up.
Film-ready ordinance, Mr. Mayor?
So what do you want to do
Yes.
with this? Is-
Just
is
keep
that-
it on.
Just keep it on there.
Keep it on there until
And
you.
then we'll decide what we're going to do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The film-ready ordinance?
So we had a scout for a film maker come and meet with Ms. Wachowski, Ms. Valesky, and myself to kind of offer to us what they hope to do as far as, you know, creating a film in our town, much, very similar to what they did last year. So they gave us some information. However, we don't have a township ordinance to regulate it, govern it, et cetera. So Ms. Wachowski Kwiatkowski reached out to her support group with any ordinances from surrounding towns. That's what the council has in their paperwork this evening. So we kind of just wanted to see if the council has a taste for creating a township ordinance, and if so, if you could please take some time to review what.
Do our adjoining towns, do any of the adjoining towns, I know Ridgewood has one.
Do you remember, Sue, which one?
Emerson has one. I
That
think
are in the
Wicklow Lake
packet.
had one.
Yeah.
So why don't we have Mrs. Bailey review it and come up with one?
Sure.
Right?
Well, if you're interested.
I know the police department was in support of having one.
I think we should have one, so we're not at the last minute trying to get one done so we can have somebody film.
What are we looking to regulate or just control? Is it like
Well, I think, I didn't get a chance to read them all too, but I mean, it starts off with permitting fees, what they can, what they can't do, approval and review by the police department, by administration. You're looking to see if there's inconveniences to the township, what type of traffic problems or, anything that it may create. I mean, this film one is a low budget film that they wanted to come in. They want to be on private property like last time, filmed during the week, during the day shift, nothing violent. So, so I think.
So it's still good to have an ordinance, probably,
Yeah.
in case you get a real, maybe Happy Gilmore 3 will come to the
Yeah.
township.
In New Jersey.
would this regulate on private property or is it just
It did. The one I started to read was the first one in the group, and I think it addressed it in its first paragraph that it was township property as well as private property. And again, it's there for you guys and girls to review and either come up with a recommendation or.
I'd be happy with having Ms. Bailey give us a recommendation on what she thinks. Everybody else okay with that?
Sure.
Mr. Sears?
Yes, positive.
Mr. Cascio?
Sure.
Mr. Ullman?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was there, can I ask a question? Was there anything about any of these ordinances that people didn't like or specific provisions that were objectionable?
Is Ms. Velez on?
She is on. And I'm not sure council's had a chance to read them
Okay.
all. There's quite a few.
There's a bunch of them here.
Yep.
I
I
didn't
did
go
see a
through
couple
every-
things that I'll discuss with you in private.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
I'd be the noise controller.
Noise control ordinance.
Ms. Velez, are you on with us?
Yeah.
We just got, Ms. Daisy, we got one more thing and then we're going to go to the vote for the DPW ordinance.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
On the noise control ordinance.
So in response to the council's request, in
Connection with the discussion with a member of the public who came forward, I was asked to put together an ordinance that might incorporate some of the concerns that were raised. It turns out DEP actually has a model noise ordinance that arguably should be implemented as a matter of law in any case. It's questionable whether something that is not modeled after the DEP's ordinance could even be enforced in municipal court. So maybe this is a two birds with one stone situation. So this is what I put together. It's based upon the model DEP ordinance, which it can be stricter than this. So if you have anything you want to add that should be
It's just
stricter.
basically listing decibel levels at each hour of the day, right? I mean,
Yes, but it also has, suggestions in here about, lawn equipment, having mufflers on those pieces of personal equipment, things of that nature, power tools and things like that, certain hours of operation during certain periods of time. Those are issues that we were discussing, or the council, was
Yep.
discussing last time. They're all treated in here in the way that DEP has found they want municipalities to treat these issues.
okay.
So again, you can be more restrictive than the states.
I'm,
You can, yes, you can.
why don't we all take a look at it for the next meeting and bring back any comments from Ms. Bailey to incorporate or not to incorporate if we're happy with it?
I just have one question.
Yes, Mr. Holman.
Section 11, motor vehicles. So they talk about NCOs and NCIs, which don't appear to be police staff. And so do they not enforce these? So who, I don't see a NCO, which I think is like someone from the health department, and an NCI, which is someone who has some knowledge, but is not a trained sort of sound person. So how do they interact with motor vehicles? I just couldn't reconcile that. And I don't know if we're taking stuff away from the police, or, which I'm not sure we want to do, or if they're, maybe they're not regulating it now, or maybe they're not enforcing anything now, but, you hear these cars come by, these modded cars with, those fart can mufflers.
Yeah, he lives on Beach. You know who it is?
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
I mean,
we know where they.
well, living near the Parkway, on a Sunday morning, which I know is not the jurisdiction we're covering, but you could hear them, a half a mile away. So would that be sort of the Bergen County Health, or would that be the police department?
Well,
And there you go. We just had
There you go.
well, first at the outset, I will say,
Dispatcher.
Section 11 is an optional provision, is the only optional provision.
Okay.
So we can take a look at it and let me
Speak to the chief.
let me
and-
look at
and the
that.
captain and see if how we can incorporate that. Is that okay, Mr. Mayor, if we talk to the chief and the captain, see how we incorporate chapter 11?
Sure.
All right. Anything else on noise ordinance? Okay. Now, ordinance adoption, second reading. Ordinance number 25-04, a bond ordinance providing for the construction of a new Department of Public Works facility in and by the Township of Washington in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $3 million, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $2.85 million in bonds or notes of the township for financing such appropriation. Resolution number 25-167, authorizing second reading and opening a public hearing for ordinance 2504. Do I have a motion?
So move.
I'll second it.
This, when do we get our questions, or is this public?
This is our questions in public.
So we can open it to
Roll
the
call.
public.
You got a roll call?
No, not yet. I can't roll call till we do questions, and we did a motion and a second.
You have to roll call to
To
open.
open up?
Oh.
Councilman
Councilman
Cassiano.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes, and can we add to the meeting that Councilwoman Velez has joined us via Zoom?
Yes. I'm going to answer that.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilwoman Velez. Okay, now we can discuss, Mr. Ullman, or in the public can come up after you discuss, or whoever on the dais wants to discuss.
Defer to the public if they have.
Would anybody in the audience like to come up regarding this bond ordinance? No one in the audience, Mr. Ullman. How about on the dais?
I have a few questions.
Go ahead, Mr. Ullman.
So, following last meeting, I had reached out to Mayor Calamari with a request to speak to Ms. Bailey regarding the bonding ordinance. Specifically, I wanted to ask about adding a time restriction on the use of the proceeds. And, per the powers that are vested in the mayor, he declined my request, feeling that the fellow council members and public would benefit from hearing my questions, which I don't think they're really that interested, but if you think so.
I find them interesting.
So my question is, do we have the ability to insert a cancellation clause in the bonding ordinance? So, and the reason I'm asking that is, if you can bear with me just one moment. We had earlier this year a ordinance or a bill for Mr. Beckmeyer for engineering 2024 New Jersey DOT, a DOT. And that bill was paid for with an ordinance that was passed in 2013. So it is 10 years and 10 months old. I doubt that Mr. Beckmeyer, Casio, Durso, Getz, or Urbeck contemplated that an ordinance that they passed in 2013 would still be paying bills in 2025. So my question is, do we have the ability to put a restriction or a cancellation on the ordinance if the funds aren't drawn and not used, that the ordinance cancels?
Yeah, special counsel, bond counsel prepares those ordinances. I would defer to his opinion on anything nuanced like that can and can't go into those ordinances
Okay.
as a matter of law.
Council President, I can interject some information.
Sure.
In anticipation of Mr. Ullman bringing up this question, I did speak with Mr. Bob Beinfeld, our bond counsel, this evening. And not to present myself as argumentative with Mr. Ullman, but you have several times now focused on the fact that we've used an old ordinance, which we in fact did. However, it was with the prior knowledge and approval of the sitting council, because that information was provided to the council and had the opportunity at the time to disagree or to advise administration not to utilize that money. So I would respectfully ask you that you represent that information accurately and completely. In answering your question, though.
Well, first of all, if I may, I never said that. This was given a recap of why I'm raising the issue. I didn't say we shouldn't be. I just said that it's 10 years and 10 months old, and I felt that these individuals likely did not approve that ordinance, almost 11 years ago for this purpose. I didn't say it was wrong or right. I just was laying out a statement of fact, essentially.
Okay. Respectfully, I just completed your sentence by letting the public know that we did have approval to utilize that, and administration wasn't just shooting from the hip with the decisions it made. However, I did speak to Mr. Beinfeld, and he said that council certainly can place any type of time limit within the ordinance or following up resolution. And you can do it at any time. You're not stuck to any type of time frame if you don't get that information into the ordinance this evening. He said, as in support of what you said, Mr. Ullman, he says that on a periodic basis, especially at the 5-year mark, this should automatically be undertaken, which we did last year. It just took several months to get up to date. So to answer your question very simply is yes, you can. It can be placed in the ordinance this evening, or you can follow up with a resolution or at any time afterwards. He did, though, caution on placing a restriction that would be too, what's the word I'm looking for? Too short.
Yeah, time restricted.
Too time restricted. Especially if, God forbid, we're in the middle of construction and another COVID epidemic happens. We wouldn't want it to be stuck and then have to go back to the drawing board. But the answer to your question is yes.
Okay, thank you. I had another question on the ordinance. On page 3, section 4.A, the said purpose described in section 3 of this bond ordinance is not a current expense. So again,
Mr. Ullman, I'm sorry, I don't know where you're at.
The
Page.
ordinance that was prepared by Hawkins, Delafield, and Wood. We were provided with it last meeting. Page 3. It was a memo dated to you from Mr. Beinfeld on January 27th. It included not a blank ordinance, but a unnumbered ordinance. So
The rough draft of his ordinance, I'm assuming.
I'm assuming it's a
Okay, so
Fine.
page 3, section 4, paragraph A.
paragraph A.
Okay.
So how are we defining, for the purpose of the ordinance, current expense versus capital expense?
I don't believe either. Again, please take this, that I'm not an attorney and I didn't draw this up, that it's kind of saying that we're not using this to pay any current expense or operating, and it is part of a capital improvement. But please take it in the spirit I'm trying to answer your question.
I agree. I guess, how is that defined for the purpose of this ordinance or bonding ordinances in general? Because this sort of statement appears in some flavor in all of our ordinances. So I'm just wondering, how current expense versus the CapEx is defined for the expenses related to this.
I can't answer that other than what I just said.
Ms. Bailey?
I've been looking for my copy of my ordinance. I apologize. Just give me 1 second. Okay. What is the question, Mr. Ullman?
So section 4A.
Okay. Of the Hawkins letter or of the ordinance?
Yes, the draft, I guess, ordinance or the shell of the ordinance, page 3.
Okay.
Said purpose described in section 3 of this bond ordinance is not a current expense and is property or improvement, et cetera. So I guess the question I have is, how do we define, or how is the current expense defined versus the CapEx?
Again, I would need to defer to bond counsel on that. I apologize. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. And then is that something that we could ask them? If not for a decision tonight, just to understand that going forward?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, he describes the project in section 3.
Yes.
I guess,
So, yes. The last question I have is regarding the appropriations that were passed for ordinance 1917 and 1704. So there's a couple of things. One is, when we look at the estimate that we've been given, the estimate for the structure is 3.2 million. The contingency is a built-in of 10%, which is 320,000. We have a contingency of 350. So, where did that extra 30 come from? The escalation is 6%, which is 192. And we're showing an escalation of 210, so that's an additional 18. So we're starting out with in addition to the contingency and the escalation of 16%, another 50K rounding of additional funds. And then the final amount of funding that we're asking for is a further, depending on what number you start with, 200K or 250K of cushion. So, it seems to me, when I read the disclaimer about the attempt to capture all-encompassing reasonable expenses, the effort put forth, but you can't identify everything. But isn't that what the contingency is for? So it seems we have a contingency on a contingency.
Well, those numbers were provided to us by the architect, and that contingency and escalation is pertaining to the building only. So the other estimates that were given to us by Beckmeyer Engineering.
When were those estimates given to us, Mr. Beckmeyer?
You've gotten them several times.
No, but I'm saying, when did we last receive them? Was it November?
Most recently, it would have been with my written memorandum.
February 3rd meeting.
Yeah, okay. So we just got those costs. I know people have been saying that, we've been waiting a year up here. We just got those costs.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, there's been statements made that the council delayed this ordinance vote for over a year now. We just received the final cost opinions from Beckmeyer within, let's call it early January of 2025. I know it's February, but so we couldn't have put an ordinance out there until we had those numbers, which we just received. Just want to make that clear.
So should the 915 have a 16% escalation? Or 10% escalation and a 10% contingency at a 6% escalation?
Should the what? Can you repeat that again?
The site costs. So you mentioned that.
Well, I do know your desire is for us to capture every known expense we could. And I think you even brought up was the generator on there, and the generator wasn't. So we made it perfectly clear to the engineers, who are fabulous, that we needed to try and capture everything. And sitting down in a room and with all of our professionals, we left out the generator, which is a pretty big component. I think we estimated at $100,000. So it might be an unreasonable pressure for us to sit here and think of every absolute thing, even when we have the architects and engineers that are experienced and professional in doing this. So I think the estimate of 150,000 over to get to the 5 million is reasonable. And just to clarify, this bond ordinance is giving us, or the township, the authority to borrow up to $2,850,000. It doesn't mean that's what we are borrowing. So you wanted an all-encompassing, or you had asked, which reasonable, of an all-encompassing expense expectation, which we're trying to give you. So now it seems as though you're adding up what I gave you, and it's not coming to the 5 million, which I explained in my memorandum that I rounded up to the 5 million, but we might not need to borrow on that. So the architect is anticipating having the documents ready between January and March, most likely March, which will give us, and then the public bid and award. So we do have money on hand to get the project started, but we'll know better as we put the project out to bid as to a more specific, probably specific cost for the project. So right now, it's tough to put it down to the dime as to what the exact cost is going to be. So for a $5 million project, to estimate a little buffer of 150, or I'm sorry, I take for granted your number's correct. I'm not sure if you said 250 or 150. Again, that's not what we're going to borrow. It's what we're asking for authorization to barn?
Up to.
Up to, right? I mean, you know, we were throwing around ideas of steel being cheaper. Now there's the potential tariff, or is a tariff on steel, which could be 25% more if we bought it out of the country. And it's just an example. I don't know.
So the reason I am asking these questions is because I don't know how many years ago it was, but probably like 8 years ago or whatever it was. I sat up here as a council person and approved a $5.8 million bond for the firehouse, which was the number that was presented to us. And we're at 7.5 because the site work was not presented to us. We were not provided with a budget of that. So we thought it was going to, or I should speak for myself, it was presented at 6 million and we're at 7.5. So one of the things I'm trying to do is, as you said, get down to a realistic number. And I feel if we have extra money in the ordinances, we're going to spend it. And again, you have, as you pointed out, you asked the council and no one pushed back, but we used every penny just about of the ordinances for the firehouse. So even though the firehouse was built complete, you know, done and dusted, we're still banging that ordinance. So the fact that we can go to that point doesn't mean, that's the max we can borrow.
But Mr. Ullman,
I would feel that we would get there.
But Mr. Ullman, I think the last time we asked Mr. Beinfeld, what we could do is, if we approve the 5 million number tonight, like Mr. DiCarlo and Mr. and
2.8, sir.
It's 2.8, but a total funding for the project of up to $5 million with all the other anticipated money that's in other places. We could then, once the bids come in, reduce that amount so it's not out there anymore. I think that's what Mr. Beinfeld told us last time. We just didn't do that. So once we do receive the bids in June or whenever they come in, when we have a final number, we could then make another, amend the ordinance to reduce it to that new amount with some cushion in it, I'm sure. I wanted to see.
I like cushion, yeah.
Okay. So the last question I have is, just for the public out there, I think it's a matter of being fully informed. That's all I'm trying to do at this point, be fully informed and make an informed decision. I don't disagree that the gentlemen that are sitting in the back row for the DPW deserve a building. Clearly they do. But I have a responsibility, I have a personal responsibility as an elected official to understand what I'm putting my name to. So I'm sorry that you find it humorous, but I think it's necessary, at least for me, to give the approval. So bond ordinance 1917, we're pulling out $1 million from, which is essentially, I believe, the school
Yes.
funds. So I had sent an email prior to the last meeting and provided some numbers about bond ordinance 1704. that the appropriation and estimated costs were 1.959. The maximum amount of bonds or notes is 1.7, and that we are currently using 873. And I guess I'm trying to understand, when I look at the information that was passed in the ordinance versus the information that was provided with the budget account maintenance printouts,
Yes.
how we reconcile those two. Because I assume, and maybe incorrectly so, that we've funded these amounts, or these have been approved. And I'm just wondering where the gap is in these numbers in terms of what was approved in the ordinance and what we're actually tracking. So is there, and I'm not saying it's missing money, but it's money that's unaccounted for in these runs. And the same could be said for 1704. We're using 285, I believe.
Well, if you remember from the conversation, you didn't get the supporting documents until the following day, right? So we haven't gotten a chance to speak about what I sent to you. However, I did tell you that your numbers were off a little bit because you're basing your numbers off of what was approved in the bond ordinance. I was not here in 2017, nor 18, 19, 20, or 21. So I remember telling you that, and neither was the CFO, so I have no idea why they entered the amount they did into the account line. I don't like the word use of missing money. I think, I understand you're probably using that hopefully for a lack of a better term. That gives a different impression. The budget account was set up with $1,660,000. 50. So based on what happens today, there may have been money taken to
The record reflect that
for
as well as just doing this.
soft costs. If you could tell by reading bond ordinances, they allow you to create a soft cost account, but they don't tell you, they don't identify in those paragraphs A, B, C, D, E, and F, G, whatever, the amount in the soft costs. So I can only speculate what they did in 2017. So out of the 1.660 and $50, I gave you proof of the spending of $641,268.07 with an encumbrance of $160,125. And without looking at that, I believe that's for the architect. Leaving a balance of $874,633.93. I understand where you're coming up with your numbers, but you're basing your numbers off of what's written in the ordinance, not what was actually created in our admin system. And that's the same for bond ordinance 1917.
Would our auditors, who I believe span that period, would they have information regarding that?
Our auditors don't create the account lines in admins. But again, an auditing facet would be to identify, in your terms, the missing money. There's no missing money. That's paper money. That's make pretend monopoly money, essentially, in that bond ordinance. It's allowing or allocating what the anticipated cost of each one of those projects are. So that account line was set up with the 1.6 blah, 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 rather than, I think it was 1.704. So I understand why you think that it appears as if there's, what is that, $44,000 are missing money, but there's not.
Anything else, Mr. Holman?
No, I disagree. I understand Mr. DeCarlo's point or his view, but, I don't understand how we have these ordinances and they don't correlate to, books and records and what that gap is. So rather than calling it missing money, gap between the ordinance and the general ledger.
Thank you.
Because if we could determine the gap, is there a possibility that there's additional funds available to us that have already been bonded, that we don't have to continue or go out for further bonding?
Thank you. Roll call. Oh, excuse me. Motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2504. Do I have a motion?
Mike,
Yes.
anyone else speak?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just
Go
check.
ahead. Go ahead, Dr. Cassidy.
Okay. I just have some very, very brief and simple questions I have to the administration. What is the anticipated yearly payment for this construction, this project?
As I think we provided at a prior meeting, it was determined at what, $47, $48 a year on the average assessed home? Mark, do I remember that?
Yeah, Councilman Gaines, we provided a document that had increments. It was like whether it's a borrowing of 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, based on estimated interest rate. The average home.
What is the yearly payment for the municipality for the project, and how many years are we talking? Are we doing 20, 30, 50?
Well, we could do 30, and I believe that number was $47 on the average assessed home in the township.
Okay.
For this amount, 2.8.
For this, only this bonding that we have?
I think it was when you had the other bands in there, there was a number in there also. I think it was like $79 or something.
It was only referencing this 3 million.
Okay. So you're saying 30 years, 47 a home, an average home, right?
Yeah, and that it was at a 4% interest rate.
4%. Thank you very much. And I understand that this is a project that needs to get done. It should have been done a long time ago through many administrations, and I do not disagree with that. And I do want to give the DPW a home, and I thank them for their service. But here's my main concern. My main concern is we have 2 properties that may need major remediation. And I right now am comfortable bonding for $3 million until I know what the cost of the remediation is going to be. Now, it's convenient that we got a email from Boswell today saying that remediation is not going to happen until 2026. The wheels of government can either churn slowly or quickly. My concern is of those unknown costs at this point. Again, 2 properties could have major contamination, and the cost of remediation contamination. So that is, right now, that's my major hangup with this. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Mr. Sears?
No, I'm comfortable with what we got moving forward.
Mr. Les?
I understand some of the reservations in regards to the other properties. However, that could be years down the road, right? There was dissatisfaction with a great lawn. So by the time we finalize anything to do with the swim club and other properties, these gentlemen are still sitting in a tent. And this is an investment in our community. So while I understand your thought process, I do recognize that we have needs that need to be met by the town, and an investment in our community spread across future generations to bear the burden, I think is responsible spending. So that's my opinion.
Thank you. I agree that the DPW does a great job with the staff they have and the equipment they have, and with the progress they've made in the past years with much better services than years ago. I think they do need a home. It is right to give them somewhere where they can work in shelter, and it's way overdue, and I think it's time to do something about it. Now I'd like a motion to close the public portion of the hearing.
So moved.
2504.
Second.
Roll call. Sorry.
Councilman Casio.
So moved.
Councilman DeSena, yeah, don't do
Yeah,
that.
yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
No.
Just closing the public hearing.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Velez.
We're
Closing the public
We're just
hearing.
closing the
Yes.
public, yeah,
Yes.
that's what I made a motion for, is to
Okay.
close hearing for ordinance 2504. We're not voting yet.
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Now we're going to vote. Motion to adopt ordinance number 2504 at second reading by title. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it. Roll call.
Councilman Casio.
No.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
No.
Councilwoman Velez.
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes.
You only have 3 yeses.
I know. I'd like to make a motion to put it back up for discussion at the next meeting. Please.
That's fine.
So moved.
This needs to be resolved now.
It's been going on way too long.
So-
Council
sorry, guys.
President. Way too long. I would ask the other council people, please just look down deep in yourself. Look at the gentlemen that are here. I know we all appreciate their work, but we can't not have them do another winter or another work on a truck in the yard. I just ask the council people if we could have another vote, just to rethink
Make a
what we
motion.
need.
Mr. Sears, you can
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Please, gentlemen, it's overdue. I see what they go through on a daily basis because I'm around town a lot. It's not that they're slacking off, it's not that they're not doing their job. My God, I mean, I see them in rain and snow and sleet and hail, and they're doing outstanding work. So, gentlemen, please,
All right,
just,
we have a motion to revote on, excuse me, I just gotta get my paperwork. Motion to revote on adopting ordinance number 2504 at second reading by Mr. Sears,
Well, you had
second.
a motion, you had a second, but you didn't do a roll call.
That's why I just wanted to put it in the record, yes.
Council President, do
Yeah.
you mind if I just clarify just a couple things for Mr. Casio? Might help change his mind or help him feel more comfortable, but if you don't mind if I just take.
Go
30
ahead.
seconds. Councilman Casio, if you remember, we did apply for the grant for the remedial action for the swim club. If we're awarded that grant, it will pay up to 75% of the remedial action and hopefully 100% of the investigation. It was not coincidental that you received it tonight. I know that it was specifically your concern a couple meetings ago that you wanted to have an amount. So when I prepared the capital budget, I did have a line in there, which I pointed out tonight. However, I wanted something in writing from Boswell rather than just my word. So that is exactly why it was received and read this evening. To let you know, like, there isn't a 1 a.m. Amount coming after you've approved everything else. So I think it's like best case scenario if we even get those numbers for 26. And from speaking with Mr. Rossi, he explained, a situation in another town,
It takes a long time.
it takes a long time. And DEP, even though they're going to put timelines on us, it's for us to get it done as opposed to never getting it done. It's not, they're going to say you got to do it next month or next year. So he'd be surprised. And I was floored when he said that because I was expecting it to be this year. He said it could be 26, 27 before we're actually putting a shovel in the ground. So we may not know, sir, that amount for a long time. And if we do, please know that we're hopefully going to get up to 75% recoup. And as far as the other property, again, I know a lot of this was discussed in close, so I don't want to reveal so much, but you know the other property I'm talking
I
about.
understand.
There's that agreement that was made as part of the purchase, so the township shouldn't be incurring that expense either. So again,
No, but that's a cost we anticipate, and it could exceed that cost, because again, we have two properties with unknown variables. Could be high dollar unknown variables, which may exceed the value of this building. It's very possible,
yeah,
right?
I can't.
And you can't, I know you can't answer that, I understand, right? And I wouldn't want to, here's the thing. When DEP tells you to do something, it's got to be done. There's no kicking it down the road, right? We can't do it. And then if I'm putting a $5 million bond out, right? And then I have to come up with another $3-4 million, where's that going to go to? The taxpayer. And we can't guarantee that we're going to get those grants. So, now we're talking a potential of $8 to $10 million. I can't ask the taxpayer to bear the burden of that for an extended period of time. I can't. And I sympathize with these workers. They do a fantastic job. How they do it, I don't know. Okay? And we appreciate them. We really do. And I've been on the council for a long time, and this is something that's been coming down the pike forever. Okay? Even before my time. Correct, Peter? For a very, very long time.
Yeah, that old building.
They have worked in adverse conditions. We appreciate it, but you have to understand, even though they work for the town, I represent the town people, and they have to be able to pay their taxes and afford it. Okay? Right now, a lot of people are at a crunch time. Okay? It's crunch. So I have to, you can understand my position, right? So again, it's not that I have anything against the DPW. I just want to make sure that we have enough to cover everything without overburdening the taxpayer with excessive costs. Okay? And I know Peter, and I know you work very hard on the budget, and I appreciate it, but I just can't at this time, put an exposure of almost $10 million out there. I just can't do it. So that's my feeling. And again, I appreciate their hard work. They do a fantastic job. I think every resident is very satisfied with their work. And I wish there was another way, but right now, I just have a problem.
Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
And I thank you for
May I-
your work.
Go ahead, Mr. Sears.
Mr. Administrator, there's no time frame when we have to clean this property up, right? We're not being forced to clean any of this property up right now.
What I was told is that the DEP or the EPA will give the township time restrictions.
Okay, so we have
Never
a
be-
space between, we have to clean up and what these gentlemen need.
Yes, again, in my mind, because I've never experienced this before, I was assuming it was something that was going to be boom, boom, boom. And further understanding with Mr. Rossi, there'll be a time frame that has to be done, but it could be 10 years that they're giving us. It's not, I don't know that for a fact,
Right.
but based on the
But
other
there's going to be a
towns.
date, the clock's going to start after 2026.
I'm sorry.
After, Mr. Rossi's right, after 2026, it could be like a month later, they're going to say, all right, you got 2 years to remediate this or whatever. It
Yeah, I
might be
mean, based
like-
on what he told me, I don't think it's going to be 2 years because he has a town they're in the third, fourth year of this and they haven't even put the shovel on the ground.
Wow.
And what I'm concerned is, I understand Councilman Cassio's concern, but what if I can't give you that number until 26 or 27?
I
And that's
understand.
your mechanism to make a decision. And I'm not arguing with you, I'm just
I know.
hammering it out with you.
I understand.
And the cost of building is just going to go up.
So,
And again, we know the exposure at the other property is nothing compared to the PCB exposure at the swim club.
Mhm.
And, again, just based on
I know.
what we've both heard. So,
I know.
thank you for listening again, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark. I
Anything else?
appreciate it.
Mr. Sears, do you have any other questions?
No, I'm done, thank you.
May I make a statement, Mike?
Oh, Ms. Velazquez.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, so we're sitting here thinking far into the future, but if we don't get any timeline, so are they supposed to wait for the DEP, EPA to give us a timeline? We have to make decisions for our community based on the information available to us now. So what you're saying, they benefit the residents, but if these gentlemen are not here, the residents aren't going to benefit from anybody. So we are potentially putting these gentlemen at risk. So which way do we want to, spend it, in the front end or the back end? We have to move forward so that they can properly serve our community. Again, this is over a period of time. And yes, we can throw 10 million, 12 million, but those aren't the numbers in front of us. So we can be mindful and careful, but we have to serve the needs now. The swim club, 5-10 years down the road, God willing, that's not the case. So they're just waiting? That's not right to them or the residents. We're not doing our job up here if we keep waiting for somebody to tell us, oh, now you can make a decision. We got to make decisions now.
In my opinion, purchasing the swim club was a mistake, okay? I'm not going to put the blame on anyone. I did not vote for it, okay? Because it was an unknown cost that we were going into. Again, I'll tell you what, I will vote for this. I will vote for this resolution tonight. If we can cut out a significant amount of this budget that's here today in front of us, presented to us, I'll do it. If you estimate it's $47 per resident, okay, if we can cut our budget by $47 per household, I'll vote for this tonight.
As I said in my statement, the departments presented the budgets they need to operate on. They didn't build any fat in, so I cannot make that promise now. But Mike, may I make a comment, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. As we all know, the soil was contaminated at the location of DPW in the 80s. We just remediated it recently. So that's 30 plus years that we were able to file for extensions and like that. I don't know if that would happen again, but we do have that in the past to look at that. It has happened. We're looking to finish this financing, $47 for the average assessed home. Even if you double that, it's under $100 a year, which means over 30 years, if you double it, you're looking at each home paying $3,000, if I've done the math quickly and correctly, over 30 years. In my opinion, I spend the taxpayers' money as if it's my own. But, to give this department who works so hard for the town, the location that they need to operate out of, one of the last snowstorms, you might remember, the days afterward, it was in the single digits. I'm watching these guys out there trying to clean and maintain the equipment. They just, they make a best effort, but they're suffering out there. And, I think for the dollars involved, yes, $3 million is a lot of money, but when you amortize it over the 30 years, I think that the average household taxpayer can afford the $47 to $100 a year at this point. Had we been here a couple of years ago, before we knew about the swim club and the soil contamination, the council then probably would have voted for it. So why can't we vote for it now? Because we would have had the same expense on the swim club now, but this would have already been done. And so I'd like to leave it at that.
Thank you.
The department, the employees, they deserve a good working environment. And right now, we're not giving that to them. And shame on us for not doing that.
I do have just one more ace up my sleeve, Councilman Cassidy. Just for clarity, again, I know $47 is $47, but it wouldn't be a tax impact this year and most likely not next year either. Again, I'm not the financial expert, but the way it was explained to me is through a combination of bans and then bonds, it might not be a tax impact on the residents until 2027 and possibly even 2028 by the way they borrow. But I would have more information from that once I'm able to consult with Acacia. But it definitely would not be this year and most likely not next year either, because the ban would be for 1 year. You get a bond to pay off the ban and it would potentially be a tax impact in 2027. That's all. That's the last thing I got.
Okay, well, that's my deal.
Well,
So-
here, Mr. Councilman Casio, I can't make any promise because that would be a bad politician. But I will tell you that I will do my absolute best to help cut the budget as best possible if we can get your vote yes tonight.
Make it a net zero gain, and I'm
Well,
for it.
I mean, we still have to move the town forward, but we can
I
do that
understand.
very responsibly.
Let's
So
call,
I would be more, I haven't even looked at it, right?
Nobody
It's in
has,
front of
you
me.
got it.
Okay, so I don't know if you were taking a peek at it, but I will do my absolute best to work with you if you can get these guys a yes vote.
I will work with you. I'm gonna be the township coach department. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna cut as much fat as we can.
All right.
And we might have to cut stuff that we need, you know? There's a lot of wants and a lot of needs. Let's cut the wants, get the needs, get it down, make this a zero net gain, and I'm okay with it.
All right,
Are you okay with that, Ms. Velez?
I'm not making promises, but I will,
You
I
do the
can
best you can?
guarantee I will do my best.
Okay.
I'll
So-
give you my word also.
Okay, Mr. Sears?
Okay.
Let's do a roll call.
Roll call, please.
Okay. Okay. Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
No.
Councilwoman Velez,
Absolutely, yes.
Councilman DeSena.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cassia. Thank you, gentlemen, for staying till late. Motion to go into closed session for resolution number 25-179, 11 Boulevard South, update litigation. The Township Council will not come out of closed session.
So moved.
Motion to enter.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who's
Let's take-
seconding?
Let's take a 5-minute recess.
Who's doing second?
Let's take a
Let's just say your second.
Oh,
All in favor?
aye.
5-minute recess so Ricky can shut off the cameras.